Yeah, we're all here. Let's go.
I might need you for a minute.
We might, as one of our board members says, takes a pretty good meeting to beat no meeting at all. Ready?
When you're good. When you're ready.
Okay. We'll start here our Aquifer Stabilization meeting number 226, Thursday, March 26, 2026 at the Water Center. We have our committee members here, I think, and we have Cynthia standing here, standing ready to take over. So,
yeah.
Cynthia, we'll turn the time over to
Okay,
you.
we're going to turn it over to me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, board members, thank you for tolerating the heat. We have invited a number of guests here just to show off our accommodations. But and I also just wanted to mention that I appreciate you all taking the time to use your mics, and to the extent you can put them close to your mouths. We've been getting feedback from folks both in the room and online that sometimes it's hard to hear. So thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, yeah, the primary topic that we have today is relates to our region just to the east of us here, the Mountain Home Plateau Aquifer region. And you heard a bit about that this morning from Ryan McCutcheon when he talked about the Western Snake River Aquifer Model, or WSPAM. That effort's being led by IDWR in coordination with the USGS. And it's expanding that Treasure Valley groundwater model to include the Mountain Home Plateau to improve our understanding of how that system behaves over time. So the water supply challenges in that area are longstanding. I know the Water Board is very familiar with that region. For decades, groundwater pumping has exceeded natural recharge, and IDWR has been tracking those impacts since the early 1980s through the establishment of the Cinder Cone Butte Critical Groundwater Management Area and the Mountain Home Groundwater Management Area. So before we move into some presentations, we have representatives here from Elmore County to speak to you today. But before we move into those presentations that really highlight some of those issues, I want to take a step back to mention the Water Board's Regional Water Sustainability Priority List. And Mr. Patton mentioned that earlier today in the context of the need to work with the board to refine the criteria associated with that. But I do want to note that this is an example of the type of issue that the board had in mind when it created that priority list. The intent was to identify projects and opportunities that improve water supply reliability on that regional scale. So beyond the single entity, it's an opportunity for the board to provide support for those efforts through funding or policy support or coordination with state and federal partners, various options of support for, again, those projects where there is identified a potential range of benefits to a region or larger scale type project. So the board's maintained that priority list for a number of years now, and the Mountain Home Aquifer has actually been on that list since its inception. Certainly there was a recognition at that time that there's a severe issue with the aquifer declines and the importance of the region itself and the water supply needs there. So the Water Board, has taken a number of actions over time to support both the understanding and trying to address some of those issues. Just to remind you all, that support has included funding for a water supply alternatives analysis, and I suspect that the county will speak to that here shortly. The Water Board has, as we heard earlier, has supported the development of that groundwater model, the WSPAM model, through funding. And it also provided some investment in the recharge infrastructure at Elmore County's Canyon Creek project. Again, we may hear more about that today. And of course, there's the larger project supporting the Air Force Base that involved the construction of a 14-mile pipeline and pump station, and partnering with the Air Force to get a treatment plant developed to deliver Snake River water to the Air Force Base, the Mountain Home Air Force Base, to reduce its reliance on the aquifer. So with that context, the county, again, is here today to present a request for the committee's consideration to create a Mountain Home Plateau Regional Water Sustainability Program. And that is similar to the approach that the Water Board took with the on the ESPA, where it created an Eastern Snake Plain Aquifer Regional Water Sustainability Program in order to accommodate the multiple efforts and the range of efforts that are coordinated under that broader strategy and objective to stabilize the aquifer. So as a reminder, studies in the context of the Mountain Home area, studies have estimated that the aquifers has been operating with an annual deficient supply of anywhere between 30,000 and 40,000 acre feet per year in some areas, and those groundwater levels continue to decline. The county, again, is here to report on its efforts to try and identify solutions. And you have copies of some materials that they submitted in advance in your workbooks. That includes a letter from the county commissioners stating what the proposal is for you today. They have a presentation that we'll go through, and then they also provided a technical report that outlines some of the alternatives that have been studied over time and provide some context as far as what the conditions, water supply conditions are in the region. So I also just want to remind the Water Board that Elmore County has actually come before you in different capacities in committee meetings, finance committee meetings, and to the full board a number of times over the years to provide updates on what they've been working on and to highlight these additional opportunities that they're trying to pursue. And what they're proposing today is a framework to bring those efforts together in a coordinated program that will support implementation of what they see as priority projects to support that long-term aquifer stabilization. So finally, Mr. Chairman, I think the question for the committee today is whether you will support recommending adding this program to the regional water sustainability priority list. And ultimately, we may discuss this topic in the finance committee with regard to potential funding opportunities through the water management account. So with that, I think I will turn the microphone over to the commissioners. Commissioner Corbis.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Mr. Chairman, board members, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come over here and spend a little bit of time talking. If you have any questions as we move along or any questions for the commissioners, please feel free to jump right out there and ask. If I may, I'd like to introduce some of the folks. We have the chairman of the board, Elmore County Commissioner Al Hofer. We have Elmore County Commissioner Crystal Rogers here. Of course, Terry Scanlon, Harry Hill, and Dylan Lawrence, our staff. And they do a great job trying to keep us moving in a straight line here. So several things I'd like to just mention briefly as we get started today. The first one is Terry and Cynthia and Brian let us know that if we wanted to ask a question, who's in charge of the snow and the rain here and where the water is supposed to be coming from, we could just, somebody here would have an answer. So unfortunately, we have none over there. So I don't know if you guys are doing any better here, but
Mr. Corbis, your answer is Sunday morning.
Is what?
Is on Sunday morning.
Okay, well, I guess Cynthia, is that the best we get? We most importantly want to talk about, of course, the water situation in Elmore County, where we're at and where we're going, and hopefully try to look to the future just a little bit and prevent some of the problems that we've seen elsewhere around the state. Elmore County's taken a very proactive approach to trying to solve some very difficult water situations that we have. It's not an easy hurdle. It's very expensive and it's a slow process, as you all are aware and understand. I think that as we move along here, the thing that matters to us is we wouldn't even be where we're at today if it wasn't for the collaboration and the partnership that we have received from this group and the state. Those dollars, those finances are the driving force behind what keeps us moving and what makes it work for us. We're a small county. not a huge budget, and we spend a lot of money trying to solve some issues that hopefully we can keep out of the courtroom with and not have problems with a water call or all the issues that come with having no water. So with that being said, I think the ideal circumstance is to turn it over to the professionals, which is Terry, and let him take a shot at explaining a lot of this. And again, if you have any questions for any of us, please feel free to ask at any time. So.
Thanks, Bud. Terry Scanlon, HDR Engineering Consultant for Elmore County. I'll roll through this presentation. Most of this is in the report that's in your packet. So if you've got questions, you can either ask me now or look at the report in the packet. With that, let's roll. See if I can get this to work. Come on. Okay. All right. So as you've heard from Cynthia, and let's see if I can get this not to do that. There we go. Cynthia and Bud already. Oops. All right. I'll get this here in just a minute. Okay. I'm just going to use the arrows here. Okay. All right. What's the problem in Elmore County? As Cynthia said, we've got a groundwater pumping deficit of 30 to 40,000 acre feet annually with the associated water level declines. And there's going to be significant economic impacts already have been if no action is taken. On this slide, just to kind of geographic context, you can see the kind of the Mountain Home Plateau area. The kind of the light purple is Water District 161, really a kind of a water functions for water measurement, groundwater district or groundwater, it's a water district. And then in the blue line is the outline of the Mountain Home groundwater management area. Within that, you can see the Cinder Cone Butte critical area with the red crosshatch. And then just for kind of, again, for geographical context, the green area within the Mountain Home groundwater management area is the Mountain Home Irrigation District. They get water from Canyon Creek and its tributaries and from Little Camas Reservoir. And then plastered on top of that is the city limits of Mountain Home. Okay, so the county's goals are, of course, stop the decline in groundwater levels in the aquifer, 2, avoid curtailment and associated economic impacts for loss of beneficial use. And so they'd also like to develop new water supplies to support growth. They've got growth coming from the Ada County direction currently, and we also have other, economic drivers that need water, and of course to support the long-term viability of the ure base. To get there is pretty simple. Reduce net groundwater extraction. Doesn't mean we have to reduce pumping, but you got to reduce the net amount, and you can do that through aquifer recharge and from conversion of groundwater uses to surface water. We'll need to acquire deliverable surface water rights for that and funding for both construction and operation. The board staff asked that we provide an update report to show where we've been in the last 10 years or so on these matters. And so just to look back in 2017, we did a study of the water supply problems on the Mountain Home Plateau. That was 1/3 funded by the county and 2/3 by the board. And so approximately 10 years later, here we are. We've done an update report. It's in your packet. And I'll just kind of go through that real quick. Now, the 2017 report, the findings were that, no surprise, we have water level declines. They were in the neighborhood of 150 feet out in the Cinder Cone Butte area, 50 to 100 feet in the area south of Mountain Home and extending out to the air base. As mentioned before, how do you fix that? Well, you got to reduce the net amount of groundwater use. And we identified two sources of alternative water supply to help with that. One being the Boise River, the South Fork of the Boise, which is north of Mountain Home, and the Snake River, which is south of Mountain. And the report also identified various infrastructure alternatives to bring that water in to the area. The recommendations out of that report were appropriate Snake River water for supplemental irrigation, aquifer recharge, municipal purposes. And the Snake River was right at the top of the recommendations because water is available above the minimum stream flows more than 99% of the time. We also suggested value engineering studies for projects to bring that water to the Mountain Home area and to Cinder Cone Butte. We recommended acquiring reservoir storage space in the Boise River system. And then lastly, Canyon Creek recharge improvements. So what have we done since 2017? And this was actually kind of useful to look back and see, actually, have we done anything? And we have. In terms of water rights, on Canyon Creek, the county was able to revive a lapsed permit for groundwater recharge. That permit had been held by the Mountain Home Groundwater Area Advisory Committee, which essentially disbanded in the mid-2000s, and that allowed that permit to lapse. It was a 200 CFS permit. We were able to license it for the amount that we could show that was beneficially utilized during the permit development period, which was only 22.68 CFS, but it is now a perfected water right. We were also able to obtain a new permit with a 2017 priority date for an additional 200 CFS from Canyon Creek. And it's a lot of water, but it's not available very often. But when it's available, we've got the facilities to use it. The other thing we did was a appropriation of flood water from the South Fork of the Boise River. That was for 200 CFS and up to 10,000 acre feet of storage in Little Camas Reservoir. That's for supplemental irrigation in Mountain Home Irrigation District and for recharge in those same facilities that we use Canyon Creek water. And then lastly, we were able to obtain a 2017 priority Snake River permit for 20 CFS supplemental irrigation and recharge. That permit was just approved last fall. With the board's assistance, we were able to make improvements to our recharge facilities from Canyon Creek. These are just northwest of Mountain Home. We put in measurement weirs, check structures, new head gates. Since that time, we've been doing annual water quality monitoring during any years that we do recharge. The amount available has been 1,100 acre feet on average since 2017. 2017 was that Snowmageddon year, as you might recall. We were up above 4,000 acre feet. And so, but there was no water available in 2020, 2021, 2022, and again this year. So the recharge helps, but it's intermittent, and it only goes so far. The county's also proceeding with their South Fork Boise River diversion project. It's a pump station from Anderson Ranch Reservoir with approximately 2-mile pipeline up to Little Camas Reservoir. They completed a 60% design on that last fall and have initiated 90% design. Right now, they're looking at a 50 CFS pump station, be expandable to 70 CFS, 48-inch pipeline. They've obtained an easement for the pipeline from the landowner, Camas Cattle Company. The first quarter mile or so is on federal land, and they're in the process of trying to obtain authorization for that as well. The project estimate is currently $73 million. Everything's getting expensive. A lot of that, a big piece of that, is actually getting power to this site. Surprisingly, anyway, we feel like it's got about a 10,000 acre foot annual capacity, depending on water availability. We are working with the board to try and obtain authorization for a portion of the storage out of the Anderson Rays.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask? I'm not even on the committee, but can I ask?
Yes.
Terry, the 10,000 acre feet per year, is that an analysis? Is that what the capacity of the pumps are? Or is that an analysis of how much natural flow water would be available?
That's an analysis of natural flow and storage available. So looking at really what it says is there's on average, there's floodwater available 23 days per year. As you know, it's floodwater, so you might get 3 or 4 years with none,
Right.
and then a bunch. But so we got 23 days a year with 50 CFS. That's 2,300. We assume if we get an authorization from the board for 10,000 acre feet of storage capacity, that'd be available about 50% of the time. So there's another 5,000 there. Then we would attempt to get additional water when available from rental pool and other sources.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
County's also working with Mountain Home Irrigation District on canal and tunnel repairs. As you guys know, Little Camas Reservoir feeds surface water to the Mountain Home area through the Mountain Home Irrigation District canal that runs across that Dixie Flat. It's about I think 13 miles of canal with 15 tunnels. They've had tunnel collapses in the past. They've got some areas of seepage. They're just trying to stabilize that system to make it a little more reliable to convey water in the future from the South Fork system and continue to convey water from Little Camas. Now, this isn't an action taken by the county, but it was instigated by the county's request to the board back in 2021, the Western Snake Plain Aquifer model. And you folks are familiar with this modeling effort. It essentially extends the Treasure Valley model onto the Mountain Home Plateau. It's useful for us to allow determination of the impacts and benefits of various water management actions. If we're going to do recharge, we want to know who it benefits, where those benefits are. And it's 28, 29 completion date, depending on how you look at it. But they're making progress. County's participating in the Modeling Technical Advisory Committee, and we're looking forward to continued progress on that model. Some of the things that WeSpan model also is doing is they've put in 5 new monitoring wells on the plateau, and those are equipped with transducers. As you know, having dedicated monitoring wells is very useful because they stay forever. It's not at the whim of a new landowner whether you can continue to keep monitoring. The USGS published a hydrogeologic framework report in 2025. I've built upon lots of previous studies of the area and used new methodologies to better characterize the hydrogeology of the plateau. If there's an update report out on the groundwater management area and the critical area. They recently just released a water budget study that will help feed information into the model. And then, as I mentioned before, there's been a couple technical advisory committees meetings. County's also doing community outreach. They provided a water resource survey, and they had over 1,100 responses from folks in the county, and this was a voluntary survey. There's less than 30,000 people in the county. Is that right? Yeah. So, 1,100 responses is pretty good. It showed a pretty good awareness of the county groundwater challenges, not complete, but most of the folks out in the Mountain Home area know that they have some challenges. The county also put together a water resources webpage. It's on the county's website. It's a useful spot to find information. There's links to past studies, everything we've been talking about here. If it's published, it should be on that website. So if you're curious about anything we're talking about, you can probably find it there. They also have a kind of an informal water advisory group, meets quarterly. Consultants, irrigation district, water district 161, commissioners, air base, soil and water conservation district, city of Mountain Home. So it's a good place to get input and know what's going on. The county will probably morph that group into a water advisory committee for the groundwater management area. As I mentioned before, there was a committee. It kind of fell apart about 20 years ago. We're going to get that put back together and put together a groundwater management plan for the Mountain Home groundwater management area. Can serve kind of as a roadmap going forward. County did an economic study, shows that if there's a 40 acre foot delivery call, a curtailment of 40,000 acre feet, you'd lose 2,000 jobs and $424 million in output. It looked at various water supply improvement scenarios following curtailment to either get you back up to that where we were before, and then other alternatives that would provide additional water and additional economic growth. They've done historical research. County hired historical research associates, and they put together a report on past efforts on the Mountain Home Plateau. It's kind of interesting reading. There's been lots and lots of proposals over the last 100+ years out there, including some fairly, substantial federal projects, bureau projects that just never got across the finish line. Several were approved. They ultimately didn't get funded. Anyways, that can make some interesting reading if you're into that sort of thing. And then, so our future actions that are proposed, we've talked about South Fork Boise River water development, pump station pipeline, ongoing Mountain Home Irrigation District canal and tunnel upgrades, Snake River pump station pipelines, could be more than one. We'll need to get project funding. We're going to need to form one or more districts to operate water supply improvement projects, groundwater districts, or something else. We'll talk about that here just a minute. And then, as I mentioned before, we'll revisit a groundwater management plan. That would be a plan that would be approved by the director and form again, a roadmap for actions to stabilize water levels. This slide kind of gives some insight into the benefits of these various projects. And at the top, we've got Canyon Creek Recharge. And I mentioned that we've been averaging about 1,100 acre feet benefit. Okay, that's good. Then we have the Mountain Home Air Force Base Sustainability Project that the board did. I estimated 1,630 acre foot benefit to the aquifer. That was based on 2010 to 2014 average use. I'm not sure what I didn't go chase down what the current use has been. It may be a little bit higher than that. Our South Fork Boise projects, as I mentioned, we figure we can get about 2,300 acre feet from our floodwater right, 5,000 acre feet from the from dam raised storage. And then in this analysis, I've assumed just about 500 acre feet of rental pools. So that gets us up to 7,800. Our capacity is about 10,000, but that would require acquiring that much water. And then on the Snake River, we've split that into a couple phases. The first one is using our approved permit of 20 CFS. And in this analysis, what I was thinking is we could use it as supplemental irrigation within Mountain Home Irrigation District, the southern portion of it, to offset groundwater pumping, perhaps 60 days a year. Gives you 2,400. Recharge by exchanging water with Mountain Home Irrigation District. If we could take Mountain Home Irrigation District's water up north of Mountain Home and put it in recharge in exchange for supplying the southern portion of the irrigation district with Snake River water for 90 days, that gives another 3,600. So all of these things, kind of keep nibbling away at that groundwater deficit. And then a second phase of Snake River water is we're hoping that we could acquire water rights for soft conversions on groundwater irrigated lands. Starting south and southwest of Mountain Home, there's 6,000 or 7,000 acres irrigated 100% from groundwater in that area. If we could get 5,000 or 6,000 acres of those converted over to Snake River water through soft conversions, that might be close to 15,000 acre feet a year. So these things all start to add up. Pretty soon we're at 30,000 acre feet. What it's telling me is this is a solvable problem. We just need to keep plugging away at it. And then there's not shown here, maybe a third phase would be to do something with Cinder Cone Butte, either coming from South Fork or from Snake River. We were asked to put together a timeline. This is a quasi timeline because we really don't have solid dates right now. We've got at the very top, we've got the WESPAM models going on, followed by or overlapped by Anderson Dam raise construction. And we want to just show that these projects proposed by the county are essentially concurrent with those projects. So we've got the Mountain Home Irrigation District projects, South Fork project, and Snake River projects. We do have obviously prereqs and challenges on every one of these projects: funding, design on the Mountain Home Irrigation District canal and tunnels. We've got an alternative analysis to try and figure out what's the best way to attack those problems. Currently, the irrigation district has been fixing identifiable problems, but not necessarily doing work that will stabilize the system in the long term. A lot of this stuff is kind of band-aid so far, and we want to look at how can we make this thing work for the next 100 years. South Fork of the Boise, we need to get a storage allocation, funding for construction and O&M, those canal improvements I mentioned. We've initiated NEPA with the Forest Service, but that's going to have to be completed. We're working with Idaho Power to get power to that site. We got to make sure we don't have construction conflicts with the dam raise work. Ideally, we would be doing our below high water construction concurrent with the drawdown for the dam work. Reclamation needs to do water modeling, and we also need to get final design, not in any particular order there. Snake River project, we've proposed an alternative analysis on that. Where's the best place to come from with this water? When we applied for the 20 CFS permit that we've got back in 2017, we were still in discussion with board staff about potentially sharing facilities with the Mountain Home Air Force Base project, or at least sharing an easement. That never came to fruition for various good reasons. And so now we're looking at, where's really the most cost-effective direction to come from, and it's probably from due south of Mountain Home. So we want to do an alternative analysis. We're looking at these two different phases. The first phase being the 20 CFS, next phase being a larger, perhaps 100 CFS. We have been in discussions with existing infrastructure owners, high lift pumpers in that area to see whether we can share facilities for at least for this first 20 CFS. So we're moving forward on that. We'll need to do water right permitting for additional supply. For crossing federal land, which is likely, we'll have to do NEPA, we'll have to do design. Funding for construction, we have to figure out how to fund this, the long-term O&M on something like this. And again, that bonding and district creation that I mentioned earlier. Just a quick slide on funding. The county has spent more than $3 million since 2015 on water supply. They've got projects that may exceed 1 million in 2026, which they have a general fund of 12 to 15 million. So they're taking water pretty seriously. It's a big portion of their budget. City of Mountain Homes also contributed to funding of water projects, including more than $200,000 to Mountain Home Irrigation District for canal maintenance and improvements, recognizing the importance of that water supply coming into the Mountain Home area for recharge to support their municipal groundwater pumping. We've been working with the board, have gotten grants for that 2017 study, the Aquifer recharge improvements, aging infrastructure grants for the irrigation district. And we're hoping to get future potential funding through this water sustainability program. We've been in discussions with the NRCS for potential funding through various national funding programs. And then Department of Defense has other programs that can support kind of community-related infrastructure projects. O&M entity, the board's asked us to look at this, and this is something we have been looking at. We're evaluating options to own and operate these projects. At the top of the list is a groundwater district that checks a lot of the boxes, but not all of them. There's other ones that have statutory relevance, the aquifer protection districts, the recharge districts, irrigation districts. And we've also looked at Utah-style water conservation or water conservancy districts. There's really no perfect fit for the situation on the Mountain Home Plateau. We don't have a delivery call driving actions. And really what we would like to see is that all the beneficiaries of these improved groundwater conditions contribute. So groundwater districts kind of require, you folks know more about groundwater districts than I do, but they require participation by the irrigators. They don't require participation by industries and municipalities, but they'll get in if there's a delivery call. We don't want it. We don't have a delivery call. We don't want it. So we really think there probably need to be some legislation to help fix this. The county's working with folks to come up with some ideas for that. More to come in the future. And then a parting thought is Mountain Home Irrigation District. They are struggling this year. This was a notice that went out to their shareholders. They're expecting less than an acre foot per share. They got less than 10% storage and no measurable snowpack. They have no high elevation watershed feeding their system. And as you folks have heard, there's really no snow below 6,000 feet. So, and with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions from committee members?
Mr. Chairman. So Terry, can you kind of give us a thumbnail of how much water is being used in Elmore County and what the groundwater, or at least from the groundwater, and how much the annual deficit is?
Yes, in our 2017 report, we estimated slightly over 80,000 acre feet. And
That's
about withdrawals, and then about half of that being the deficit.
So you're losing 40,000 acre feet every year?
That was that estimate. Now the department's done an estimate. I think they were at 31,000. This most recent water balance information, part of this WESPAM study, is saying it may be less than that, but it's in that order of magnitude. It's more than 10,000, it's more than 15,000, it's probably less than 60,000. So it's in that order of magnitude. The model should be able to help hone in on that.
Any questions from board members? Brian.
Mr. Chairman, Terry, so the Snake River Pipeline Phase 1 for 20 CFS, how's it compare in size and length to our Mountain Home Air Base? I think we're only 6 or 8 CFS there or something.
Right, so it's larger in diameter, shorter in length. We can hit the southern end of the Mountain Home Irrigation District in about 2 or 3 miles from the river. If we go all the way to Mountain Home, for example, if we were to use that water in the recharge facilities, then it's a little bit longer. It's about 9 miles and about 800 feet of lift.
800 feet on the lift.
Yeah.
That would be the 20 CFS. Is that a trust water right, or is that a water right that you bought from?
That's a trust water right.
And if you went to 100, it would be the same.
Yes. Yeah. And that's
just subject mainly to the Swan Falls.
Subject to the Swan Falls, subject to the current moratorium, subject to the state water plan. But we think we check most of the boxes on the state water plan. I mean, this aquifer sustainability, recovering groundwater levels, supplemental water supplies, all those sorts of things. We wouldn't be looking for new irrigation development. We're just really trying to sustain what we've got with that water.
If you get to that 100 CFS, you'd be fairly sustainable.
Yeah, that's what the numbers suggest. Yes. Recognizing that our declines are vary by location. So if we fix the problems in the air base and south of Mountain Home areas, we still have Cinder Cone Butte to deal with.
And is there any better, like I know with, well, for instance, Dean's pipeline project, that was
Mid-district's pipeline, something like
yeah, that is. He only owns 90% of that. But, they got a pretty large NRCS, wasn't it?
No, we're working on that. Feds are kind of locked up now.
Okay, so you're obviously looking for some kind of federal participation for that kind of a project.
Yeah, definitely.
You had a question? Okay. So
Mr. Question, I can come after you, or and maybe this is more of a question for staff than it is for Terry. If I understand correctly, that 20 CFS was permitted in 2017.
It was applied for in 2017 and approved in 2025.
Oh, okay. So the clock, we've got some time on the clock before beneficial use has to be proved on that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question. So what percent is irrigation and what percent's everything else?
Irrigations, I believe it's in the 85% range. Municipals, maybe 8 or 10, and then, which includes municipal irrigation, of course. And then there's some industrial, and there's quite a bit of stock water, actually.
Okay. Chairman?
May I?
Yes. Mr. Gibbs.
Does the pipeline to Mountain Home Air Force Base alleviate part of your deficit
Yes.
of the 30 to 40,000 acre feet?
Yes.
And what do you expect that will be? There's the total deficit reduction there. Thank you.
I estimated 1,630 acre feet based on their pumping records from 2010 to 2014. It might be a little bit more than that, but it's probably less than 2,000 acre feet a year.
Any other questions from board members?
So Mr. Chairman, maybe for Ryan, but are we looking for a recommendation today on
Yes, if the committee is so inclined, I think it could entertain a motion to make a recommendation to the board to add a Mountain Home Plateau Aquifer Regional Water Sustainability Program to its portfolio of regional water sustainability projects?
we have not made that resolution?
Correct. So if this committee were to make that recommendation, that resolution would be considered tomorrow. I think there is a draft resolution if you want to see it. But that would be planned for action tomorrow.
Mr. Barker.
So, Mr. Chairman and Brian and Terry, or whoever wants to weigh in on this, what would it mean to Mountain Home? And what would a sustainability project look like once it got on the list? I guess, what is it that we're being asked to recommend to the full board?
So
What good does it do Mountain Home?
Okay, I'll let you start, Brian.
since Terry's looking at me, what we are envisioning as we've been having discussions with the Elmore County commissioners and others about this proposal, what we're envisioning is that the board would create a regional water sustainability program for the Mountain Home Plateau Aquifer, somewhat similar to what we've done for the Eastern Snake Plain Aquifer. Once that's complete, or once that's in place, then the board could continue working with the Elmore County commissioners, and hopefully this other district that they end up creating, to help them get these various infrastructure proposals in place that are on the drawing board that Terry just described. We could, negotiate, cost share from the state versus the county, timelines, funding disbursements and so on.
But we wouldn't be approving any particular project. It was more a process for getting those projects evaluated. Is that right?
Correct, correct. I think the finance committee may consider repurposing some leftover dollars from the Air Force Base project to this program to act as some seed money. But then, yeah, each major proposal would come back to the board once it's worked out with the county before the board makes any significant expenditures.
Well, and realistically, to have viable applications for federal money, you kind of need to be on some kind of regional stability.
Mr. Chairman, Brian, yes, it sure helps. And it also shows in those federal applications that the state does support this program and is in fact, helping to fund, these solutions.
So, Mr. Chairman, in the draft resolution, there's also a provision for providing some funding, which would have to come through the finance committee. And subject to the finance committee's decision on how much to fund, I would recommend, would move to recommend to the full board that the Mountain Home Plateau Aquifer Regional Water Sustainability Program be added to the board's priority list.
That's second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay,
Just a voice vote.
just a voice vote.
Work for
All
this.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Be able to get it tomorrow?
yeah,
Yes.
so that goes forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so Terry, I still had a question. What is that gonna mean for what you guys are gonna do? Did Brian answer that question? You're gonna then work with the board staff to put together the individual programs, right?
Right, I think every project, every funding request will have to stand on its own merits and come before the board, but this at least will, my understanding is provides a pool of funding that could be accessed at the board's, vote to bring projects forward.
One thing I'd bring up, I think that probably finding whatever entity is gonna take this over, whether it's aquifer stabilization, whatever. I think that's important, I think, to come sooner than later. Particularly because you're gonna have something that interacts with the Mountain Home Irrigation District and how they're all gonna work together. So that's the only thing I would say. I think this is a great idea and very supportive of it, but I think that has to be one of the top priorities. So.
Thank you.
Anyway, okay, we've got that covered. Any other items from Aquifer Stabilization Committee members?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, upon adjournment of the Aquifer Stabilization Committee, I would suggest a 5-minute break and then the Finance Committee will convene.
Chairman, I move we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.